Me, because I understand it, I don't take that personal, and I'm able to not only get their referrals. I got people calling me like, "I'm like, who's working?"
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, mine, such and such," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so that lets me know that something is going good with the program." When you have people that give me sex trafficking. I have a lot of people referring their, they call them street sisters, to me because of what the services I help with them. And it's like, call this person, and this person will help you. Not only help you, she'll listen. Not only listen, she'll call you back. Not only call you back, she'll communicate. Not only communicate, she's gonna see you through. Typically, my position is to get a referral, help them resurfaces, close them out. I don't think that's good. I kind of stay with them until at least they get to a suitable situation, a suitable place in their life, or at least they're calm. I don't want nobody to tell me, okay, you good, bye. And it's like, well, I'm still hanging, like I'm still emotional, I'm still going on. So from my position, I do like to keep them on a little longer until we both can come to an agreement to say, okay, I think I'm good with services, I can continue on, or I meet the capacity of what I got saved, I moved out, things like that. We have help with deposits, we have help with getting people in shelters, transportation, furnishing housing, motel vouchers, food, groceries, diapers. Like I said, listening ear, gas, like all of the above. It's times that I will go personally and meet a client to make sure they got needs. I went to bag, somebody didn't have an ID and couldn't get into a hotel. I don't know if it's the way I talk, but the owner was like, I got it. Don't worry, we'll put her in. She didn't have no ID. We know you didn't send a lot of people here, so we'll go ahead and let her stay. And gave her an extra day for free. So being that voice and that calm voice for the community, our community, that's me. That's what I do. And I'm me. This is who I am. And I think my daughter. I know that's right. In a normal state and letting them know this is who I am, I think that makes me a little more comfortable.
You want to tell us a little bit about your role? Just, I know the director and program manager.
My role as it relates to weed, is well, based on what I do, I help support African American families, mother, women, and children to reach whatever particular goal or need that they need at that particular time. Some people come to me in crisis, some people are homeless, living in a car. I make sure that I help them to get to a place where they can feel safe, where they can feel empowered, and they can be able to reach what it is that they come to solve. And I hit up turn over every rock, connect them to whatever resource that I need them to know, so that they can get there. And I rock with them 110%. 125.
Our next question, I'm gonna maybe to the ambassadors, both Valencia and Astrid. What should the community know about being an ambassador, and what would help increase the ambassadorship program? So 2 pieces to it. What should the community know about being an ambassador?
The community should know that ambassadors are good with parents, and that we don't work for we there in the community, we're there for the community, and we're there to connect them with we and what they have to offer. And what was the second part?
Yeah, and what would help increase the ambassadorship program? What would help us get more ambassadors?
Meeting like this, more words, spread it, talking about the ambassadorships, and just talking about the program. A lot of people don't know about ambassadors. I had people walk up to me and ask me, how did you get this position? How did you become an ambassador? So pretty much spreading the word.
Valencia, what about you? And being a youth ambassador, I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your voice.
So I think
Yeah, what should the community know about being an ambassador, especially a youth ambassador?
What the community should know about being a youth ambassador in general is that we're not necessarily there to go right back and tell, but we're there to communicate what they're feeling, how you feel when you see what you think that needs to be changed. Go back and tell them that, which is basically your voice and not your
Yeah. Right. And then how would you think what would be a great way to increase what would be a good way to increase ambassadorship for the youth? How can we get more youth ambassadors?
I would say meetings like this, more so in the schools, because there are like a lot of young black girls who just going to psychology and not even knowing what kind of what you're going to be dealing with. So I would say kind of just get into the schools and then just giving them this experience. Like this is just a little bit of and then just a little bit of experience.
And so anyone on the panel, what would you note as success and why?
I would know as a success having me. And the only reason why, no, say that again.
Like having your role and having
Yes, because some of the clients, community that I talk to, they have a bad stigma to weak. They don't help, they call, they rude, they call, things like that. So having somebody in the community that looks like them, that, reacts to them, that understands them, I think that was a huge success.
Yeah, and just to add to that, when we first started the collaborative, we had a staff that was helping with the pieces of it, but it wasn't built into the grant. It was Gina who applied for another grant because it was not built into this current grant. And so, as a result of Gina's success of getting that grant, we were able now, because of what we heard, to get Janelle as an advocate to be embedded in the community and really to focus on the stigmas around mental health. What would you say, Astrid, would be? What would you say has been a success in being an ambassador?
Being in the community, being at different events, the last event I was at the Jazz Festival, different people walking up to them like, oh, so what you guys doing? So what's different about me? So it's being out here in the community and they see, like you said, faces like them, so people that they can actually relate to.
I think one of the things you shared too is what I love is that when you find out about events, you'll let us know, because sometimes I may or may not know about them. But then even places that are not geared to talk about domestic violence, like at a jazz festival, but we know people who are harmed or hurt may be going to any kind of event, right? Mm-hmm. And so music brings the Black community together. That's one of the things that's a connector. And so when hearing you say, oh my gosh, Shanice, I was at the jazz festival and several people were coming up to the table, well, what's healthy Black families, first of all? And what are some of the topics that you guys talk about? And then how you said someone really identified they were going through domestic violence. Mm-hmm. So it's the places that sometimes we may not think to go to. And it's those kind of places like that might get folks to come to the table, because it's not a resource fair that's just like, oh, it's domestic violence, so people are gonna might shy away from it. So, but thank you, Doc. I felt like that it made me think like these are the more events that we should definitely be a part of, because we will have folks maybe who are apt to come to the table. Yolanda, what would you say has been a success in being a part of the collaborative? What have you seen as a success?
I've seen that us, number one, coming together and, all three agencies, definitely Janelle, you advocating for everything, and just us coming together and being willing to work things, try things in the community, include the community. I was a big advocate about making sure that their voices is heard, and that we took what they said and actually delivered what they said so that they can feel supported, they can feel like something they can actually go to, because one of the things I remember the women saying was, we need more stuff like this. We need more places where we can have sister supports, where we can have things where we can talk about stuff, and be seen and be heard, and we need places where when we need to leave immediately, we need like a safe house we can go, or I can take my children to Janelle and my children can go there, and then I can be somewhere like, until we can figure out what our next steps is, and then let's find a place for the father to go without we having to send him to jail, and so those are some of the things that we're working in progress to try to find those things, and hopefully we can come together collaboratively with some agencies and buy some more safe houses so we have the women to do, because they wanted something like within 48 hours. And then sometimes, with Janelle and Tamisa, they be rocking their magic to get those women in, but sometimes we're full. because that's the reality, you know, that's, you know, we have a lot of women going through this. So those ones that we can't get in right now, guess where they're going back to? Right? And so, you know, that was one of the things that, you know, we're still on the platform of trying to develop so that we can have something where even if it's like a 48 or 72-hour respite, and that those babies are safe, you know, so that mom can, like, you know, who wants to be going through that and your baby's watching you crying? You know what I'm saying? So they want to be able to have a space, and then their children be able to go somewhere where they're good, and then mom can process whatever she's doing with her sister support. So those are one of the things that I think that success-wise, we're working on that, and we're being able to include them to see how we need to go and navigate what we're doing.
I wanted to add a success as well. We created these cards in our collaborative, and it just says Southside Healthy Black Families, we are here for you, providing support, creating pathways for healing. And it was just something that partners could give out, but also it was an opportunity for us to connect with law enforcement that maybe you can give this to a family instead of taking families to jail. Because maybe this here, these resources or partners on here, they may connect with them, and they're like, oh, I'm working already with Southside Christian, I'm working with Rose Family, and they can redirect them, and everything may not result in going to jail. But we wanted to have a quick reference, something quick, 4x6 card that had partners on it that, and since then we've expanded our partnership. So all the partners are not listed on here, but it was an opportunity for something, what can we make now? What can we give now? And also, I had on the screen, it changed, but we had some, can I click on there again? We have, our partners have been steadily talking about what messaging from the community can we put on our social media. And this is one of the things that came up, and I would view real quick, I can share. And so we worked with our communications department, and these messages were messages we heard from the community. And this is what can be on our social media platforms, and it has the partners' names on it. Toxic masculinity hurts us, our families, and our communities. Listen to Black families. Holding in pain and trauma stops healing. You deserve healing. Many folks didn't feel they deserved to be healed. Our boys are watching us. What are we teaching them? The same here. Our girls are watching us. What are we teaching them? Our kids are watching us. What are we teaching them? I wanted to move up to the top and show you some here. There's no shame in asking for help. With the Black women, we're here to help. You are not alone. And this is also the direct messaging from our cards as well. Strong men ask for help. It doesn't mean that you're weak because you ask for help. Speak up and speak out. It's okay in general to ask for help. And some of these here are some of the warning signs of abusive relationships. And then it breaks down all the different 6 types of domestic violence that we talked about earlier. And relationships exist on a spectrum. And domestic violence isn't just physical, as we talked about earlier. That's what was really resonating with the Black community. Well, if it's not physical, then is it really domestic violence? And then the 6 types of domestic violence are pictured there. So I would say this definitely is a win, and it really speaks to what we created as a result of what we heard. And the community will be able to see this is some of the messages that we heard, and now we're able to put it in messaging and maybe flyers and other pieces. So this is definitely I would say a win and a success.
I like that you put it on the cycle, because on the wheel, the cycle of abuse, it listed all out, and yours is for the flyer for a woman to see it, not have to read and interpret all of that, because I think therapists and psychologists, and so many times I will say this, women, when you're in crisis, if you call for help, the first help that's gonna come is the police officer. They give you a pamphlet, they give you paperwork, and that's it. And that's where the first line starts. So they're not there to give you comfort, peace, figure out your pieces of the puzzle. They're there to take the immediate pain, position, aggression, to whoever the aggressor is, remove them from the situation. And so many times women are left and they're like, where am I at on the cycle?
you're usually at the end of it, the explosion part of it. So you don't even see the calm, you don't see the, hey, there is a storm, there's a process to it, there's layers to this thing. And so sometimes seeing the wheel is the first time, like when you're able to see, if you're able to see, because sometimes if you're too physical, too far gone, then you're like there. But so many times, if you don't take that 7-day grace period that they give you, because it's a one-time offer, no woman is gonna go and say, you know what, I called yesterday and whatever, in the heat of that moment, if you don't give her tangible resources, if you don't fight or advocate, or she doesn't have the will, because a lot of times women want to get out.
That's right.
They do want to get out, but you know what? If you're only gonna get me out to this place and then in 2 or 3 days you're gonna release me, or I have male children and I'm the girl. Sometimes if your children are above the age, you can't take all your children, they can't take your whole family. So why would I stay and be on this cycle? I'd rather just, you know what, go back to the honeymoon period and then we, you know, it won't happen to me again or whatever. So it's helpful. I like that one. I don't know if it's just me, if it just spoke to me, but if you've ever seen the cycle of abuse, you're like, wow, a lot of women, like you said, don't see the six categories. But if you're like, oh my God, I can identify with what I feel right now. And not only that, I like that you guys include a piece for the male, because sometimes they don't have resources either. And so many times the women are left with so much. Even if I get resources for me, how do I know my children aren't still damaged? How do I put this back together? And how do I heal from this situation so that our families can be complete, even if we're not together? That we still operate and coexist with one. So
Thank you for that.
And I just wanted to, because a lot of times, you know, when we leave that relationship, we end up going to another relationship with the same dude with the same behavior. You'll look sparkly in the beginning, and after the honeymoon period, then boom, you're like, oh my God, really? Okay, I just left this nut. Now I'm with another nut. You know what I mean? And you don't, because you haven't been able to heal your stuff and then read the signs, because there are signs, right? But because we're, just like you said, still in our stuff, we've never gotten the help. Now we just read the same cycle all over again. And it's like, yo, what's something? We start thinking, what's wrong with me? When it's not really what's wrong with me, it's just that we haven't been able to build that and to focus and get back into ourselves to now attract something different. So yeah.
And then I just want to add, we have a violence response team that we have partnership with different law enforcement, but have advocates to accompany. So it's not just, you know, like you said, the law enforcement comes and then they, in the past, maybe they just give them information. Now there's an advocate. I'm not law enforcement, I'm an advocate. So I really, really wanted to know, how are you? And it's not about here's all this paperwork. It's literally how are you, what you need. Are you needing support beyond here? Let me connect with you, or we can have advocacy beyond. And it also helped in reframing some of the thinking of law enforcement when they see the advocate with them, and them understanding, them not trying to tell an officer how to do their job, but saying, this is my role as an advocate, and this is what it looks like. In your role as an officer, this is what your role is, but now let me do my role. And it's a whole different connection when an advocate comes to the scene, and there's so much light that has been a part of the client feeling like, wow, you see me, you know, I might go to jail, is how I was feeling. But now I feel like this advocate is really advocating for me. So it's so those are some of the gaps or the bridges that we're really trying to connect to better support the community. Because law enforcement hasn't always been the first go-to, right? Because of the harms, the things that Ms. Yolanda has talked about. But an advocate being present, we saw the data change. We saw some of the surveys change of how they felt connected as a result of the advocate coming. And you know, I know you got to go. Do you have time for one more question? Yes. And this will be for everyone. What do you think is necessary for this collaborative to evolve?
Well, I think the first one is confidentiality. In my role, I'm not mandated. So when I do have the community coming to me, they can be as open as possible. Well, unless they say they're going to harm someone else or themselves. But coming to me and having be able to have that confident person that you can really tell what happened to you and not feel CPS gonna be in my life, the police gonna be in my life, or you know, whatever, to actually have that and have a safe place that the community can come to and talk and be able to express what's really going on. instead of the surface and what they want to tell us, and then we can't really give them the full detail and the full resources and support that we may offer. So having that in the community, I think will definitely be able to get them more into weed, get other people into weed, which means we will be utilized a lot more from our community, which means we can get a lot of more families safe. Having a course or a training, or not a training, a listening session on healthy families, on healthy Black families, I think it would be another way to have us evolve in the community.
That part.
I keep telling
She does
her
it every
that's it,
time.
look, right?
She does it every time.
Yolanda, what would you say?
I say, I'm in agreement to that model, that you were saying, because in Seattle, they have that model where when the police go out to, a domestic violence situation, they have an actual advocate from one of those African-American organizations that help sit with the woman to help her or figure things out. So like, if we can model that here, where that becomes like our norm, that would definitely be a big thing. Again, the housing piece, making sure that we have a safe respite for those women through that time, and then have one of us come out to help her figure out the plan, and then have some brothers simultaneously come out with a man to help him create a plan as well. I think it needs to be on both parts, because we can't just keep healing the women and not healing the men, because the cycle keeps perpetuating. I think that's a area for us to really, really grow, because it's needed. And, you know, other than the ones that, the only reason that they think they can't get help, because I don't want nobody to be a punk, I don't want boys thinking I'm this and I'm that.
I don't want nobody like this.
But at the end of the day, they're seeking help too. But there's no places here for Black men to get them to that next level. I mean, you might got buried every now and then, but for me, when I have Black men that are coming, that are having their children, I don't have no resources to send them. Yeah. It was not. We got a lot of resources for Black women, but we have nothing for Black men. So they're just feeling like, well, I'm good, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. But I think if we have that equitable thing, so that we're making sure he's being healed and she being healed, then we can be able to have more truly healthy Black families. And then be able to really show in workshops, different types of things, concerts, different things that represent healthy families, and bringing those type of dialogues, even with a mediator, to have those healthy conversations between men perspective of what a healthy relationship is, and when they come with that, and a woman perspective, and then somebody to mediate that thing so it don't get evolved, and nobody telling their real story, but yet they're being able to say, okay, if this is a scenario, this happened, how would you handle that? You know, and then having somebody to come bring a healthy way of how that situation is handled. Because a lot of people you don't know what you don't know, right? Mm-hmm. You know, if I don't know that it's a different way for me to deal with this anger, then I would keep dealing with it the way that I deal with it. You know, so I think that would be a lot more if we just started having those type of things in the community, and then, you know, put the little mini cons, you know, something that's gonna bring people in. And then, you know how we do, we change the name of it, and the folks come in and be like, oh, that's what this is really about? But we got you in here now, so you ain't leaving, right? But, you know, those types of things. So I think that would be great.
I'll say, please, what pretty much what both of them just said, like, we believe we need more ambassadors, we need more healing space, we need to feel safe. People need to be able to talk and not feeling like, okay, someone's gonna go to court. And like you said, an advocate. We really need advocates to come out to the home, because a lot of times it's not a police situation, it's just that at that moment it's very heated. And the police don't need to be involved, they just need to separate. So we need to just be out there, just need more like events and more things like this in the community. They need more people to be able to listen from side to side. Because a lot of times come out. Some will take the woman's side, and there'll be some that'll just take the man's side and take the woman to jail or the man to jail. You know what I mean? It's come to a point where they go out there, whoever take that 911 call, okay, someone called so and so because of the action for that area. They need to get out there and kind of we get there before the police get there. Right. Just talking about that.
As long as it's safe.
Yes. You know, be out there, so you can be out there and just I'm just saying, because, you know, I'm 61 years old, all these years I've been through a lot of stuff. And I have to remind myself that we're evolving in that slowly, but I just wish it was more fast.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Because we're getting there as far as like the men are concerned, what I hear from young men and older men. We don't do counseling.
Yeah.
We really don't do it, because, you know, ain't nothing wrong with me,
That part.
that hurt.
Thank you.
It's all the hurts.
Yeah.
I have a chick common denominator, so let's just talk about that,
Right.
you know,
But then
so.
there's not, they don't have enough men that
Are
shows
going out
that shows them something different.
It's okay to
Because
go.
when the advocates come out, they're looking like us.
Right.
Like
They're
it's with
not
everybody
women.
that's in here. It's
They're
the
not
women
male.
it's the women that's holding up the
Not
word.
male,
And the
exactly.
brothers are just sitting there like, y'all go ahead and do that, but they're not being able to be in here in the numbers that we are with the commitment that we have, and that's what I would like to see more of. And then the youth, you know, gotta speak on that, and that's another thing, because when we did some listening sessions with the youth, I did not realize that it was that much domestic violence happening, and the different, like, the technological thing, the cell phones, and the bullying online with the Facebook and all of that kind of stuff that's making some of these youth, suicide rates is off the charts right now with my babies from 8 to 14 that are trying to take their lives because of stuff that they're dealing with and the parents not knowing, and it's just crazy. So I would love to see, you know, this bright star right here, you know, bring more of the youth, because when we did that session, we learned so much from the youth and the celebrities, like the way these celebrities are doing, they take account of really meshing their lives based on these reality shows and these rappers and their relationship. Because we did this one with the rappers and that was like, so is this a healthy relationship or unhealthy? It was like, well, you know, actually that's, you know, it looked healthy. I mean, they had the little thing with him beating her up in the elevator. However, they look cool, they got money, they this, and for the most part, you know, on the outside, it's all good. And the girl's like, well, yeah, but what's happening in the inside?
Right.
Inside they home. But they show us in the media, it's all good. And when he hit her in that elevator, I don't know if they doing that more. But, you know, but their perspective was like, but they look good because the money is shining, the lifestyle is this, they living it. So we can just deal with it.
And I think when we brought the conversation to the youth perspective, and allowed it to be on their level of, okay, looking at celebrity relationships, unhealthy and healthy, then making it more relatable, having pop-ups and things that will make them more engaged. Domestic violence conversations can look different in the way that you cater to that audience, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to lastly, and then I want to move into our presenters. And another thing too, we won't have time for the audience to speak right now. This, I don't want our presenters to be delayed in their facilitation, but I want you, if you can, to write down questions, because after the breakout session, we can address those questions when we come back. But lastly, I wanted to ask Astrid and Valencia about their mother-daughter, just how that was created, how that was started.
Really gonna piggyback off of, Dana Juanita had a generational, meeting that she had with my mom, and we was all connected to it. Actually, Valencia was, meeting Anita. And, I just thought that it was something that it was really needed. After losing my niece to domestic and being the last person that she spoke to. And now that I can go back, I seen the trauma in the eyes, I seen that she was afraid, that she wanted to talk. And me not asking the right questions, I didn't take all that in consideration. So with my daughter, I wanted to, you know, ask those type of questions. The questions that I thought that was hard to ask, which is not. Like your children really want to tell you everything. You just have to ask them. Like if you don't, they just gonna sit in their shell and they will get into these awful relationships. And it just repeats cycle. So me having a mother-daughter table talk, then Valencia was able to learn, and I didn't even know she was going through what she was going through. So I was able to learn a lot. And when people come to the table talk, they tell me the same things. Like this was something needed in our community because they one of these was a lady that was at one of my table talks. She thought her daughter had an awesome relationship, and she really found out that how her daughter felt. She didn't know that her daughter felt like she was controlling her. But she learned at that meeting And she said, had she not shown up at that meeting, she would not have known how her daughter was feeling. So it's something that is really needed.
And that's what a lot of the youth were saying. There was a lot of youth that were in abusive relationships and their parent did not even know, didn't even have a clue. I mean, like even physical, you know, outside of the other stuff where they became suicidal. And I was like, I didn't, because my mama, she go this, she go that. And I was like, wow, you've been dealing with this for this long and your parents aren't aware, you know, because you shut off with your parents. You know how to put your face on for your mom or your dad. But then your mom not knowing those things, and then your baby end up, hurt, in a way that you can't bring her back. That's devastating.
And Valencia, what would you say? How has the mother-daughter table talk, influenced you, or how have you felt connected as a result of that? You and your mom starting this together.
I would say that it did open up more conversations with me and just kind of like letting me know how I felt about certain stuff that even she did, even if it didn't pertain to me. Not only that, it did allow me to open up conversations with my friends, because I do have a couple of friends who were in domestic situations who even to where it escalates to someone having to be stabbed over her, or just being in a situation that allowed me to really let my friends know, like, you guys have a safe place to go to, and you guys also know that it's okay to say you're wrong. And a lot of, they will take it and they'll run with it, and I just kind of see them being more closer to their moms, even if they don't come to our meetings. It's just just knowing that I can come to my mom and say, "Well, that's wrong." It's comforting. And then just knowing that I can tell my friends this, and then tell them, like, you guys have a space to go to, you guys have me, you can have someone to talk to. It's understanding a lot of just, not even just my circle, because they go out and tell their friends about it, but it's just knowing that there's a space that we can go to changes a lot, because not even just me, but everybody that's around me who sees me do this kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, because as a result of you all being ambassadors, you creating this pathway for conversation with mother and daughter, and I think it probably can really even move forward men and fathers relationship, right?
Yes.
So it's like a model. It's a starting point. It definitely has been successful. You all have been doing this for months, and it's here consistently, second Saturdays. And you said men and women have attended. So thank you for the innovation, the creativity, and being ambassadors. Yolanda, thank you for being a panelist, and Janelle as well. This has been informative in helping those in the community to kind of see where we are, where we have been, where we're going. And as I said, next we will have 2 breakout sessions. One with Ms. Kiki with self-care and Ms. Anita for financial empowerment. But if you guys can write your questions down, and after we come back, we can address some of your questions. And if the panelists are still over, we can address those responses, because we want to know more from you all so that we can move forward toward more solutions, toward more evolving and growth. So Ms. Kiki, I'm actually, if you can say a little bit about yourself, and then we can say what breakout room you all will go to.
Oh,
You need a mic, you can. Okay.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Kiki Brown. I'm actually a native from Omaha, Nebraska. So I came down to Sacramento for the purpose of launching a program called Soul Space. When I was back home, my role was, I was a gang unit officer for a large number of years, and then I was a domestic violence officer, as well as a mental health officer. And I specifically worked in the hood. That was where I was, that was where I wanted to be, because I'm very passionate about helping my people and, giving my folks pass when I can. But what I saw during a lot of my jobs was just the brokenness of our community, and just really not being able to have permission to say, you know what, I am struggling. I need some help. I don't know where to go. So I just decided to quit, because that's just how my mind is sometimes. I just got a feeling like, okay, this is what I need to do. So I came down to Sacramento, and I now run a community wellness program, specifically for African Americans. And so we have a couple different components of that program, but our main thing is empowerment. So we're gonna walk alongside you through whatever you're going through. And that doesn't mean that when you come to us, you're like this broken person dealing with CPS, domestic violence, your mental health ain't right. Sometimes you just need a safe space to talk. Sometimes you need just a different perspective. So we do life coaching, we do mentoring, one-on-one sessions. We connect all of our folks to African-American therapists that we have a relationship with. So the same way we're kind of sitting here and talking, once a month, I invite all my therapists to come sit and just talk, just so they know that we appreciate what they're doing, because this is hard work, being a mental health therapist, especially during these days. The other side of what I do is just big on empowerment. So I cultivated a safe space for Black women to come and just talk about what it's like being a Black woman. So second and fourth Wednesday of every month, I facilitate a group called Let It Go Sis. And that's literally what it is. We come, we eat, and we just talk about whatever comes, we let it go. Well, yeah, we do a lot of it. So yeah, we just come into that safe space, and again, we talk about everything, you guys. Everything from relationships to how our day was, to our struggles. And what I have really found is the women come and they lift each other up. So I got the easy job in that. I just, buy the food and then just ask questions when I need to. But these ladies come and we range anywhere from, I think my youngest is 19 and my oldest is 73. So these women come and they share their experience and we just vibe. It's a whole vibe, to get into a room with just different generations. And like Yolanda was saying, sometimes I forget that we are in a different generation, because things back then were how they were. And now you got social media. We're just now getting to a place where we can say domestic violence is not normal. For so long, so many of us grew up in households where you saw it, you experienced it, but you didn't talk about it. Like in my household, you bet not even open your mouth, because you might get slapped for even thinking about it, let alone going to tell somebody about it. So yeah, so that's who I am and that's what I do.
And Miss Anita, thank you for joining us. If you could tell us a little bit about you and where you're from, everything. Nothing, everything.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anita Johnson, and I'm a financial behaviorist, and I work strictly with African-American women and their relationship with money. And so this journey it's been a long journey. I have my own practice, and it's like what a financial behavior is a therapist, but on the financial side. So you get to come and tell me all your financial woes, ups and downs, good or bad, and I get to help you sort through those things emotionally of why you do what you do with your money. So that's kind of where I am. Tamisa, thank you for inviting me. Tamisa, I was in the airport in Vegas when you called me. Oh. Well, I was coming back to dinner because I had just spoken at a conference, the Financial Therapy Association conference. And every time I speak when my audience is majority white, and they're therapists, these are financial therapists, I always give them tools to help them deal with when a Black woman is sitting in front of them, right? What the things that she has gone through. We have external things that actually fit what is going on internally with us when it comes to our money. So all the policies and procedures, things, the laws that have been made, it affects the whole Black family. But how does it affect the woman as well? And then why she may stay, because I'm a domestic violence survivor, and why I stay, because there was no money, more money for me to go, right? So I help you work through that emotion. Helps.
Right. So she's amazing.
And we have two breakout rooms, so you can choose what session. I know both of you, it's hard to go to pick one, but we have two rooms. The fitness center, the fitness center,
and then the conference room. And we'll take everybody.
And 99.
And then the other room is what's called?
The conference room.
Conference room. And so we'll have the two breakout sessions. Miss Anita in one, Miss Kiki in one, and you're feel free to attend either one.
Yeah, 83. Yeah. Okay. And
the fitness center.
99 one is like
the conference.
And then we will reconvene.
Yeah, it's already 2:30.
Yeah, so about 3:15. Yeah, ready. And then next we'll have a spoken word. You guys, how good to you?
Yeah,
we put you back here.
And I've noticed I have become, a pathway.
Oh,
This, well, no, that's not you.
That's my nonprofit. It's cold. I don't listen. I don't know what it's doing. They know all about
I just want some balance.
Yeah. I did buy some, and so I'm really heavy on two things: self-love and self-care. If you work with me, I have a rule, and it's 2 rules. You always have to tell me how you care for yourself, and it can't be, oh, I took a nap. Like, I mean, be intentional about it. So we're gonna talk a little bit about self-care. And then the other thing I'm really big on is self-love. I truly believe that when you start your healing process, the first thing you have to do is start with the person who looks at you. And for me, that journey was a little difficult. So I'm a domestic violence survivor. At the time I was married, we had kids. He was also an officer. And so I was not in a situation where I could just like go get help, because who am I gonna call? Like, my colleagues don't show up and help me or what? And he had been on the force longer, and so he was highly respected. So then, of course, part of the manipulation was always, well, they would believe you anyway. And so, you start thinking that those things are true, and you start allowing that person to really define who you are. And then somebody has said it earlier, scared to leave. And for me, it wasn't a financial thing. It's like, people know me in the community. They know me as a strong individual. So how can I break down and say, by the way, this is my home after I get done with my job? Because so often we focus on titles. Everybody, oh, you do this and you do this. And it's like, you have no idea what I deal with at home. When I was on the gang unit, it was all males. There were no women. So I definitely wasn't about to share anything with them, because, I mean, you guys already know some of the stereotypes and attitudes were just kind of like, well, what did you do? And it's like, oh, dang, well, what did I do? Maybe I should do this differently. I got into a mindset of, well, if I do everything right, it'll stop. And then I got into the mindset of, once I realized that wasn't the truth, of course, I got into the mindset of, well, he's just hurt. He didn't have a good father either. And so I started to make a lot of excuses. And then I ran out of excuses. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. This ain't right. And this is, someone who I went to college. So I have my master's degree in forensic psychology, and I have my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. So I'm supposed to know this stuff. I'm supposed to not allow it to happen to me. I had 2 parents. I didn't see my mom in a domestic violence relationship. My father was a drug addict, but he worked. Like, he the only addict I know that literally was on time every day for his job for 38 years, like, didn't play. Thankfully, before he passed, he was in recovery, but they never taught me about healthy relationships. Like, my dad had women on the side. So I just thought, okay, well, that's just how it's supposed to be. And I always saw my mom catering to my dad. So she would know things were going on, but he was the financial holder. So she wasn't going to go against the things that he had to say. So that's how we grew up, just thinking like, okay, well, this is how it should go. And so even with all the education and then going out to different calls, you see different stuff and you're like, oh, my situation ain't that bad. It's not that bad, or oh my goodness, I'm so glad it's not that bad. Because that's the ignorance that convinces you to stay where you're at. But we got into a situation where my older 2 got a little older, and I started to see how my son, they're only 10 months apart, my son and my daughter. I started to see how my son would talk to my daughter, or he would hit her. Just, they're playing and maybe she took a toy that he wanted. He had no problem slapping her. My daughter's a fighter, she's a little fighter, so she'll smack him right back. But when I started to see those things, they were like, I think 4 or 5, I just kind of made a decision that I would not allow them to normalize that. And so I did leave, and ended up leaving the state, because for me, I needed to be free from some of the triggers that were in my hometown. He's crazy, so like, he followed me, crazy love crazy. So crazy came on right on to California, made sure he found me, and I just want to be a better man. And it's like, no, because at that point I had started my healing journey. So I really started to take inventory of the triggers I had, the trauma I had went through that I never processed, like things that happened to me that it's like I never even stopped for a moment to recognize that these things had a negative impact on me. I just kept going, because that's what I saw my mom do. We didn't see sadness in our house. The only way we knew if something happens, because she would cook a big meal. So we knew once she cooked that meal, that was her therapy. We were like, okay, what happened? But we didn't talk about it. We didn't sit at the table and talk. It was like each food, they go in your room and don't come out if you hear it. So I just knew that that was not what I wanted for my kids. And so I had a good friend of mine who just kind of said, we've been seeing this for a minute. And what do you want to do about it? And first I was like, wait, so y'all watched this happen? And they're like, but we told you over and over. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Oh, shoot. Yes, you did. But at that time, my mind would not allow me to process it because the fear of the unknown was greater than actually staying in that situation. I was like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm gonna tough it out. I got it. And who wants to be the person, and like in my family, my brother's married, my sisters were in relationships, so I didn't dare want to be the one that was a single parent raising kids on my own. I just definitely didn't want to do that. So then I just decided, my friend and I, and she's a therapist, we just started really working on me. Peeling back the layers of what me looked like. And I had many nights where it was like that ugly cry, you know, you in the room, you by yourself, the tears start coming to you, snot, and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. But I had to go through a lot of those nights to truly understand and appreciate who and what I am. And so I decided at that point that the old me, she could never come back. No matter what the situation was, what the circumstances was, I would never allow that old me to come back. And so the two things I did to really, I guess, kick things into gear was implement self-love. And that was difficult because, as you know, part of what the abuser does is they take away your self-esteem. They take away your self-worth. They want you to feel like nobody else will want you. You're not good enough. You're too big. You're too ugly. You're too tall. You're too this. You're too that. And so I really had to repair my self-esteem and my self-worth. Because on the outside, I'm like, oh, this bright, bubbly person. And I'm like, oh, she's so fun. You have an idea that when I go home, I'm dealing with depression. I'm dealing with anxiety. I'm panicking every time I hear a sound. Or if there's a certain smell, I freak out like, oh my gosh, she's in my house. Things like that. And then I started really practicing self-care. So I got real selfish about my time. I got real selfish about who I allowed in my personal space. There were some family and friends that had to go because I just decided that wasn't something I wanted to be a part of. So I'm gonna love you from afar. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. And I got two things that we're gonna do, but I'm an interactive person. I don't wanna talk at you. So what is self-care by your definition? Happiness, depression, and other negative emotions. I like this version because I think sometimes people feel like self-care is doing something, but exactly what you said, sometimes it's just recognizing that, you know what, my cup is so empty, let me just slow it down. I'm the type of person, like, I have to be moving around. I can't like sit stagnant. So a lot of times what I felt was happening to me is I would forget to care for myself. Because like I'm a mom, I got kids to take care of, so I don't have time to be sick. I don't have time to worry about this or that. I gotta make sure these two are good. And then of course, when you've been in a relationship that has been abusive in any form, the kids especially, they're impacted by that. And sometimes people don't realize the negative emotions that those kids experience. Sometimes you may never see it because they're not going, some kids are not going to come on and say, it hurts my feelings when daddy hits you. My son, he was very vocal. He would just say, I really don't like when dad does that, but we understand why you stay. That was what my 11-year-old told me. And when he said that in my head, I was thinking like, is this the way that I've taught my son to look at relationships? And so self-care too is just recognizing the negative thoughts that you have in your mind and choosing to replace those with other affirming thoughts. And so self-care is about giving ourselves relief when we feel overwhelmed, and it's about addressing our problems historically. So what do you guys think are some of the benefits of self-care?
Okay, so what do you think generational?
In the time period, it was different. So when generational wealth was like then, it's not the same now. Like my generational wealth is showing my kids like, hey, when they're done, when I turn 16, you get bank account, and this and that, and they sort of do their own self, they get home and I'm not doing that. So I appreciate that. But what I worked since I was 6, 7.
Own your voice, own your story, and be proud of your story, even with all the ugliness that you may have in it, because it's your story. Refocus. You can't change the past. You can't change people's behavior. You can't change the would-haves, the should-haves, and the could-haves. But what you can do is keep your bigger picture in mind, whatever that bigger picture looks like for you. And then release it. I'm a huge believer that you have to learn to let things go. Hence my group, Let It Go. And let it go, truly let it go. Like I used to be the kind of person that was like, okay, I'm gonna release it, okay, it's done. And then 5 minutes later, I'm thinking about it. 10 minutes later, I might be calling that person up. hour later, I might be right back in the same habit because I would feel guilty, or I'm like, oh, but they really need me, or oh my gosh, if I don't do it, who's gonna do it? But truly releasing it is, you know what? I can pray for you, I can support you, but I'm gonna go ahead and allow this situation to be what it is and taking no responsibility for that person to navigate through that experience. It doesn't mean you can't support them. I'm not saying like abandon your friends or family, anything like that, but put your boundaries in place. So the example I always use is I have a sister who has been an alcoholic for the past, 15 years. And I was enabling her. I would answer every time she called, every time CPS stepped in, I would take the kids. Every time the police was on the radio, oh, we're going to this house. I'm like, let me get there first so I can make sure she don't go there. I was doing all these things thinking, oh, okay, I'm helping her out. The truth was I was making it harder for her to really get through what she was going through. So I started putting boundaries in place. So I moved 1,900 miles away. That was the first one. No, seriously, because I had a habit of every time something happened in my family with my siblings, I'm the one that's gonna show up, regardless of what I have going on. And if you're that person, then you know how draining mentally and physically that can be. So I put some boundaries in place. And then I really just took a stand on, I can no longer parent your kids because mentally for me, emotionally for me, it's just not an option. And I did it in a loving way. It wasn't like, okay, sis, forget this. But it's like, look, this is where I'm at and you have to respect it. And don't be afraid to let those folks go who choose not to respect your boundaries. I got family that I don't talk to. I love you dearly, but don't call my phone because you're going to choose to not respect me. Calling me in the middle of the night, things that interrupt your time, your peace. And I'm a firm believer that if you don't protect your peace, then you set yourself up for everybody else to disrupt your peace. So we were like, this is you, remember, this is you. So if you're in a situation where you can't have it just out in the open, always be safe. Give it to a trusted person or put it somewhere safe. So the handwritten letter, you want to adopt a greeting that's pleasing to you and it helps put a smile on your face. It could be your name, a pet name, or something that you are fond of. You want to welcome yourself with a memory that you treasure a lot. And remember, this letter is positive. So we don't want to put any memories in there that, could potentially trigger emotions. And then choose memories that soothe your mind. So for me, mine was just memories of going to my grandmother's house because she always cooked and she always was, come on, baby, come on over here. And I'm like, yeah, that's grandma. Let me sit real close to her. So that's the memory that I chose. The next paragraph, give yourself self-encouragement and the comfort that you need. This is where you have to tell yourself that no pain is permanent and that the pain you're currently in is temporary. Compliment yourself and tell yourself to look on the bright side of things. And then next, go into the reason that you wrote this letter, which is love. So tell yourself what you love about you. Talk about your charming habits, your attributes, your excellent character, even the flaws that you have. They are a part of you. They are a part of your story. And just sit there and love on yourself and reread it as many times as you need to. Use the last paragraph to motivate yourself to always remember where the love came from and that it's the eternal love that you need and it's the best gift that you can give yourself at all times by choosing you and loving yourself first. Put aside any doubts that you might be having and end it in a way that complements who you are. So it could be a phrase that makes you smile, a phrase that maybe a loved one will tell you. So those are the important components. So then I wanted to share my love letter.
Start to look for funding for this connection in the community. So we kind of were able to kind of dissect that earlier and then show the community here what we have been able to do over the past. And then the panel was able to share what they've been doing and ways that they also want to expand. So Randy, I'm gonna introduce you. We are grateful for your presence and for chiming like, hey, I got somebody who will give this. So Randy Dorn has been a musician for 20 years. He is a trained pianist. He plays multiple instruments from classical piano to bass guitar. He has taught piano and vocal lessons for the past 8 years. He has traveled locally with Born Again Music Group while performing in front of hundreds of music lovers. He currently works as a program manager and youth mentor at Rose Valley HBFC Counseling Center, where he's able to support and interrupt youth identified as being on track for gang violence and juvenile detention. Wow.
me in space. I was listening to Bio, like, what about me? I'm super flattered, super blessed, and just grateful for you to allow me in this space. I'm happy to be here.
Wow.
And I look at you, beautiful women, and I can see courageous, strong, just dope people. Really, you know? So I'm not gonna read before you long, trust me. I had a friend that dealt with domestic violence, and so this kind of hit home for me. So I'm glad for the invite. Thank you. Finally, thank you to everybody. So just allow me to be in this space is what you said. Check this place. I've never been here, and I love it. So. And forgive me, I'm reading. Beautiful Black queen, you are everything I need. You are everything we need. You are everything I've seen in my dreams, from those brightest nighttime stars to those mid-May flowers. You are everything in between. I love you. I care for you. Mother Nature's nature, the strongest of any foundations, blessed by the Creator, you are perfection at the least. Let me just wash your feet. Let me soak them in Epsom salt, oil you up, feed you grapes while I'm speaking positive affirmations. Once your day is complete, I got you. I will forever have your well-being in the forefront of my mind. You are divine. I thank God daily for these eyes because I see your work. I see your work, Queen. Critical thinking into action in the most extreme situations at the highest level, or just a simple Sunday dinner with those buttermilk biscuits in the center. You make it look so easy. You are dreams come true. You are sunflowers that bloom. I trust you to be the best version of you. You are dreams come true. You are sunflowers that bloom. I trust you to be the best version of you. Sorry. You are dreams come true. You are sunflowers that bloom. I trust you to be the best version of you. And hear me, Queen, you are enough. You are more than enough.
Thank you.
Bear with me. More than enough. You're more than enough. You're more than enough. Excuse me. I'm gonna switch to the Bible a little bit. Just forgive me. God is able to do just what He said He would do. He's God, 'cause He won't give up on you. He's able, God is able to do just what He said He would do. He's gonna fulfill every promise to you. Don't give up on God, 'cause He won't give up on you. God is able to do just what He said He would do. He's gonna fulfill every promise to you. Don't give up on God, 'cause He won't give up on you. God is able to do just what He said He would do. He's gonna fulfill every promise to you. Don't give up on God, 'cause He won't give up on you.
If you all can, I know, right?
That part.
Woo!
Now your raffle ticket.
There's more prizes. There's more prizes.
How many more we need to do?
How many more?
About 5.
You have 5 more?
Yeah. Miss Anita donated some financial wellness books.
Okay. 4161.
Saying that.
I only put it down for my
Check it there. Yes. Wait, you can check it there for my to have a ticket out.
Okay.
I'm trying to feel some kind of way.
Me too. Please tell her number.
Oh my God, I ain't here. Give it.
This is a. Yeah, that's that, and then,
I promise you.
4149. That's right. That's right.
I promise you. How many more did you get done?
I think 3.
oh, I know, because she had this. Can I just have this?
Yes. How many were you gonna do?
Yeah.
Hey, Dolly got. I love
Uh-oh, wait a minute, she over here. I got, don't worry about it, I got you.
It was 155.
You know how I am. Oh.
Tanisha, you looking for 155?
154-159.
4159.
That's her. No, that's my mom. Oh.
4159.
First time.
4159.
Yeah, so you better grab one for her. You're present. Let's go.
Okay.
See Shakira get some here. 4158.
That's her. That's the one.
Y'all doing this.
Come on, y'all need to. I'll get you some, Shakira.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's that
4155.
Yes, yes.
I'll give you one.
Self-care, self-care, self-care.
Yes.
Yes, self-care.
What it feel like and what it smell like.
Okay, we can
No, rub it in. Rub it in.
4150.
Yes, right. Oh, it smells so good. It's a light smell.
Mm-hmm.
And then we want to do one more best. You, whoever wins, you give the lady flowers. We want to give people their flowers while they're here.
Yes.
And I got this in honor of Dana. So
Okay.
even though Dana is not here with us, she was so integral in all the pieces. So whoever's raffle ticket is next, we want to give them their flowers while they're here. And this is in honor of Dana.
I'm telling you, keep saying it, you'll get it. 4152. Yes, right here. Keep it moving. Not bad, Miss Karen. 4169. Woo, love, that's you.
She wasn't even looking.
169. Right? There you go, that's you.
That's beautiful.
No, that's just a can.
Okay. Next one, please do the survey on your phone if you work on. And it always the code should work. Take sandwiches, take a popcorn, and just remember when everyone asks volunteers.
Yeah.
For more information, as we talked about earlier, leave is 24/7 supporting information line, 916-920-2952. Our website, weedinc.org, and our fabulous partners, we thank you. Sacramento Children's Home.
Say that again.
The state velocity.
My younger sister came around and asked sometimes. They get it from their older sister, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Southside Christian Center. Who else have I been? Voices of Youth. She could be my daughter. We and just all of you, we thank you for your time, for your insight. Again, if there's questions that you may have had as a panelist, we do have your information. So we don't have it after being registered. We want to send out those responses if you have any questions today. So and please do the survey, because that will really help us to know. And what we kept hearing consistently is that we want more of these. So we would love to now get more being involved, have Randy come into more things, and really all of you to be a part, and anyone to be an ambassador. So as our ambassador said, it really has changed how the community sees the community sees their help now. They know they can access help because they have ambassadors in the community who now have been able to get help and understand that people are here for them and they see them. So thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. And grab food or anything.
Thank you guys for coming.
Is Jill still gonna do her thing?
You guys still
if
want
we have
to?
time, if folks want to, we can connect. Let me show them.
And then lastly, that's a claim of our own sensuality, because I know sometimes we, some people mix sensuality with sexuality, and they also misconstrue who we are as lovable, just sensuous beings. But I'm gonna go ahead and go to Unbreakable Spirit instead, and when we do another show, you can be able to see that in action with the music and the dance. So we gonna do Unbreakable Spirit. Amen. Go ahead, give me some music. All right. Something that what you was throwing, the first music you had before, that's what hit the spirit. I was like, no. I am sunshine. When you look at me, you can feel the power of my rays penetrate you with joy. I am power. I conquer every battle that I face with victory. I am love. Nothing can destroy the existence of my gifts. I am positive. The mere thought of negativity dissipates in the realm of my presence. I am courage. My shield of stepping out on faith opens the door to endless possibilities. I am courage. My soul reverberates the knowledge of knowing that a solution always exists, even in the midst of adversity. Because I am life, right here, right now. And with every breath that I take, I know that I am an unbreakable spirit, moving all things that's in my path that doesn't stop me. My circumstance, finance, or romance can't break me. My fear, doubt, or uncertainty won't break me. My career, job, or lack thereof can't break me. My weight, health, or any ill condition won't break me. And my friends, acquaintances, or family won't and can't break me. For I am an unbreakable spirit, moving all things that's in my path that doesn't strengthen me. Because myself and the ladies that's in this room, we are unbreakable. Don't break me. 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 Don't break me, don't break me, don't break me. So we are unbreakable. I shall.